on this beautiful Friday, April 28th, 3:05 in the afternoon. So pleased to welcome Mr. Mike Smith to Senate Education. You have jumped in to a, I'm sure, busy and demanding role. So the fact that you're taking your time to come and see us in person, I want to let you know, means a lot to all of us. Lots of conversations have been had in this committee over the past several months related to the state colleges, everything from funding to the library situation, leadership, and everything in between. And we're just pleased to have an opportunity to talk to you, hear a little bit about you, as well as just give the committee some time with questions to get to know you a little bit better. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. I left state government, I think it was 18 months ago, and said, well, I'll never, you'll never see me again. And here we are back before you. I've never appeared before. I was trying to think. I don't think I've ever appeared before the Senate Education Committee, so I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. A little bit about my background. It's one of the things that is interesting is that I was born in Rutland, but I lived in Castleton my first 3 years of my life. My parents are both from Castleton. I can remember early walking the campuses of a much smaller Castleton. I think it was called Castleton Teachers College at the time. And so I have that background, but I also have a background where I was town manager of Hardwick at one time. So I know the importance of the rural community, the rural education aspect of what's going on. As you know, I'm a Vermonter. Graduated from high school from Woodstock. Went into the service right after high school. I wasn't the best high school student. I went into the service and served in the U.S. Navy, first with Underwater Demolition Team 21 and then SEAL Team 2. Got out of the service, went back to UVM for my undergrad. Like I said, served as town manager, went back for my graduate degree and held numerous positions in state government and private sector. CEO and president of several Vermont companies, as well as Secretary of Administration, Deputy Treasurer, and Secretary of Human Services here in Vermont. So, quite a variety of positions, particularly in the private and public sector. Usually I'm called in when there's some issues that have to be dealt with. I thought it was going to be an easy ride with as Secretary of Human Services when Governor Scott called me, because I said I'll do it for a year, and guess what? 2 months after, the pandemic started. So I was there for 3 years and enjoyed. It was a really challenging time, but I'm really proud of some of the things that we did here. We led the nation in some of the things that we did in looking at that. In responding to that pandemic. I've been on the job for about a week as interim president of Vermont State University, and I have visited all campuses. On Monday, I reversed 2 previous decisions, one dealing with the libraries, the other dealing with athletics. I rescinded the layoffs at the libraries. I also put a 3-year hold on eliminating or changing conferences within the athletics. That will give me time to sort of get some data that I think I need to know in order to make those decisions. I did say, the future is digital in some degree, but I'm not going to dictate what that is. That has to be homegrown and brought up through the system with as much collaboration as possible as we move forward. I will say this, in my business, and including with students, because I did live in it's not like a regular dorm room, but it's our residential director's dorm room. I did live on campus at BTC. I was on Johnson campus last night, although I wasn't in the dorms there, but I think it's important to understand from a student perspective what they're feeling, what they're seeing, And and that's why I thought it was important. I plan to do it in all campuses. Maybe, hopefully, while students are there, but we only got a couple of weeks here. But to get a sense of how they feel, what's going on there. And I've been eating in the dining halls, so I've been available if they want to come up to me, or sometimes I sit down with them to have a meal with them to really get a perspective of it. To come full circle today, I was really touched by this. There was a family from Hardwick that was viewing the Johnson campus with their daughter, and they knew me from my days as town manager, and they said, you know, we were a little worried about what was going to happen with the future, but you know what they said to me, and it's not about me, it's about them. They said, we feel confident in the future of the Vermont State University, and that really struck me. That means I have an awesome responsibility. That means I have to. I'm sure they don't have a lot of money. I'm sure, you know, like me, their daughter may be first generation. I was first generation non-traditional student. Try coming out of the service and SEAL team and going to a freshman dorm at UVM. It's not easy on a transition, but in those days you had to be in a freshman dorm. But I feel an awesome responsibility now to make sure that their daughter is successful. And I really take that into focus. So like I said, I've reversed some previous decisions. I've visited all campuses. I want to keep the distractions to a minimum because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. A lot of work has been done. I read the select committee's report. I read a lot of the work that has been done. You've seen the book. I haven't gotten through all of it, but the book that is huge.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Please take one.
Yeah, but it is. I'm excited. I hope. I've said this to a few people, and I really mean it. I wouldn't have come out of retirement just for it. You know, it just, there's a mission here that is important to the state of Vermont. It's important to the people of Vermont, and it's really important to the students, both current and future, for this state. And so I came out of retirement for the obligation to try to assist in some way in moving that forward. And as you know, Mr. Chair, you and I have worked together in the past on several things. I haven't had the fortunate situation to work with the rest of you, but I had this deep commitment to the state that, you know, I just couldn't let this one go. I needed to. I'm not popular at home, but I couldn't let this one go. So now, with some of the distractions out of the way, we can focus on the transformation July 1. There's a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of things have to fall into place. We're working on them. I've got the teams now focused. The other thing I want to do is establish lines of communication. There seems to be, I think part of our problem is that we need a structure. At AHS, we have really good structure so that when I would say things at the podium during press conferences that were new to policy, by the time I got back to Waterbury, it was in place, even though it was new. I think the lines of communication are important here. So yesterday I met with several people. I said, I really need the input coming up to me, and I need a way for the input for the output to come down, so that I get the advice that I need, collaboration. You know, I don't have all the answers, so you know the input that I need. So we're going to be setting up a different constituencies, faculty, student, staff, that will meet in a president's council that will, you know, that I will feed information down and they will feed information up to me so that I can at least have a path that I can, you know, and it isn't one constituency. There are multiple constituencies that I'm contemplating this to happen. So I haven't been before this committee. You may have a lot of questions. I appreciate the support that the state has given since 2020. I looked at that amount, and it's been quite significant, over $200 million to the system since 2020. You have been very generous as a legislature to us. We have some work we have to do in the future in terms of making sure we're operating efficiently and effectively, we'll work together to get that done. That's basically all I got to say after a week.
Thank you again for being here. Can you just tell us a little bit about when you say everything is going to be sort of kicked off on July 1, the transformation, what needs to be done between now and then?
Yeah, we have to have some structures into place. For example, having the faculty governance at least planned out and in place of how that's going to happen. We have different faculty governance units right now within the structure. I think the faculty, we've been working with faculty, from my understanding, we've been working with faculty to try to come up with a structure where it's a unified faculty governance structure. I think everybody conceptually understands why that's important, but just trying to get those pieces together, that's just one aspect of it. Making sure that we're all our branded information is ready to go, all our websites are ready to go, and we're moving forward in those areas. So there are some sort of procedures, making sure our academics are aligned as we're moving forward for that July 1 kickoff.
Just curious if in your brief transition into the role, if either the chancellor or the governor gave you any mandates.
No. No. Just I think I surprised everybody with how quick I moved on those two issues. And I to some degree, I apologize to my staff because I just did it. And I don't like to operate like that. I like to give some forewarning and everything, but I thought it was so important to get that out of the way. But there's, if there is a mandate, I've imposed it on myself, is to get transformation done. I've had discussions with the chancellor saying I want transformation to go smooth.
We all had to live with a previous legislative dictates, and we're all new in here except for Chair Canty. But you put my mind at ease when you explain what you've been doing and your lines of communication. That's a wise man once called that management by walking around.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that and they respect where you're coming from, I think. And management, but it's also leadership. I appreciate it. I just hope that if we can help anyway, that you'll come back to us and say, this is what we need. Because I think anything is possible if we all work together.
Yeah, Senator, I agree. The chair knows that I'm not shy about coming back and asking for things. I agree with that. But by the way, I think you're right on. I learned one of the things I did before the pandemic started, the agency human services about 4,000, I think 3,900 people or so. I learned more about walking around Waterbury and just talking to people about what was happening in that agency than I learned in each meeting that I had. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
So using the military perspective, there's only one CO, one commanding officer in a unit. But we have a chancellor, a president, an assistant. Can you explain kind of a vision of the roles and how you see this in your term?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of have that structure in human services, by the way. We have commissioners that report to a secretary that has sort of centralized service responsibilities, budget, accounting, all that sort of thing. So the model, I would say, is similar to the secretary model in human services. I'm too new to see what is, how this works and how this, works together. But at the same time, I've had nothing but support along my way. I mean, I made some very major decisions very quickly, and I appreciate the support that I had from both the chancellor's office and the board on making those. I think one of the things that I wanted to make sure was that everybody knew the direction I was going. So that happened. So I guess I'm too new to give you a concrete answer, but I look at, I had 6 commissioners as secretary, all of them with departments that were huge. And so, and then I controlled their budgets. I controlled, the various IT stuff and everything else. I look at it as a similar model.
Good, thank you.
Anything else for? Yes,
Yes.
yeah, well, in particular, it's your district.
Yeah.
And we're
Well,
good, yeah,
it's a statewide system.
yes, but one is in your.
So what led you to reverse the library decision?
It was a distraction. And secondly, I didn't feel that we had the bottom up sort of discussion that we needed. I thought, I think everybody agrees that a portion of the collection needs to be streamlined. I think there's no disagreement about that. How we go about it was a different story. And I just felt we didn't have enough discussion at the levels that we needed to pull all this together in order to make sure that everybody was comfortable with the direction that we were going. I wasn't comfortable with the direction. I oftentimes will kick things off, kick things against the wall with my spouse, because she's not political at all. When she's talking to me nowadays, but one of the things that she asked was, "Why are you taking books out of the library?" And I said, "I don't believe we're doing that, but if that's the perception, we've got to slow down and make sure everybody understands what we're doing."
Do you have a perspective on the $25 million mandate, reduction mandate
Yeah, I do.
that you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share it. I mean, the legislature invested, is this a technical term? A boatload of money into the system, 200 million since 2020. They increased our base amount by 50%. In return, they've asked us to take care of our structural deficit over a 5-year period. If you look at it in terms of our expenditure budget for FY23 is about $153 million. That's about 5 million is about 3.3% of that budget. I don't think that's unreasonable to ask, and especially if we do it right, we'll be out of our structural deficit in 5 years. So I thought the legislature was particularly generous. I want to work with the legislature to make sure that we come up with our end of the bargain, but at the same time, I want to do it smart. And one of the things that I've often done is broadcast where I'm going, and then take feedback as we go. Because sometimes there's a better way than the way that I think about it.
Please.
6 months is a short, assignment. So I assume one of your responsibilities, or maybe one of your responsibilities, is kind of looking for your successor. Will you be involved in that process, and do you have any concept of how you'll approach it?
I don't know, but 6 months was an important time for me to be able to do this.
Or is that just what you told your wife?
That's exactly. I said 6 months, and I mean it. I haven't even thought about that yet in terms of what we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it. There are plenty of talented people out there. And so what I want to do is get it set on a path. And I think I can do that in 6 months, set it on a path and get going.
And where is the search right now?
I don't think it's started.
Nothing's.
It's been a week, so. Yeah.
Senator Lewis?
I'm good, thank you.
I moved from Westford. Just moved a little while ago
From Westford or to Westford?
from Westford.
To,
Isle of Mont, that's my home now.
wow,
Yeah, it's not an easy commute.
nice.
Great. Mr. Smith, thanks so much.
Thank you.
For joining us, really appreciate
I
it.
appreciate your time. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to call me. I'm, I've done this for a few years, so I don't mind answering any questions.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yes, be in contact.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks a
Thank you.
million.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Just waiting for our next witnesses.
Mike,
How
are you? How you doing?
461. Anybody?
Thank you.
Objection to that? Here are things coming percent.
Okay. Is this,
Hear from Rachel first. Oh, and did you have your friend, Sparky? Sparks?
he cannot make it.
You want to hear from Sparks before we?
No, I mean, I know where I stand,
Okay,
so.
okay, great. And where's Mr. Leonard? Okay, we kind of need him now. Yeah, Rachel, just 1 second. We're gonna wait for Damien to get here. I have a couple of questions because there are a couple of moving parts before we vote this that I want to make sure we're all aware of.
Not a problem.
And if, for example, can we have an issue with this provision that voting no on the whole bill? It's now-
No, it's not in the bill.
Okay,
Yeah,
so-
it's not in the bill, so we have to see if anybody wants to put it in the bill.